am kind of frightened about like what is ultimately going to happen and whether we as a global human society can actually come together to address these issues.
I mean, obviously the climate strikes are very powerful. There were millions of kids who struck total. But I think that the issue is that right now, what if there are a whole bunch of kids marching around and honestly just yelling? I think that it makes a point, but it's also going to make some people think that these are just kids who have gotten too fired up and that they don't really understand what's going on. So I think that ultimately the issue is that people are going to see it however they want.
I think it did make an effect because I think it educated people that it was a problem, but I don't think it educated the right people. Like, I don't think people in government or people who have power in society really did anything after that took place.
I don't think that this is just enough. I feel like talking about it won't do anything. So people actually have to take action to be able to have things get done and being progressive and helping the environment.
But I did think that it was good because I think that in the recent years a lot more people have been more climate friendly, and they've in general I think the view of most people is shifting to become more this is an issue. So I think that even the idea that they had a climate summit was a lot more progress than it had been before.
Yeah, I think she had a very powerful take and a really powerful call to action. I think it's really exciting that teenagers are getting more politically involved. Like we saw the Parkland students the past couple of years have really taken to activism to call adults to the table for acting or not acting on some of these policies.
It'll also speak to the kids our age, not just adults. And sometimes just adults talking, kids tend to tune adults out. But when the kids talking, we tend to listen more. Especially with climate change, because of the fact that it's going to be our Earth, it's going to be our generation that's going to have to go through this.
I agree with a lot that she's saying. I think that, first of all, she's really courageous to be able to do this and to skip school so much and to literally cross the ocean on a solar-powered yacht. But I think that it's really disappointing because a lot of people aren't actually listening to her. That's my general view of it. For example, after the speech, Trump tweeted this video of her and basically a caption that was mocking her. So I think that the issue is that even no matter how much Greta Thunberg is going to literally yell at them, it's really difficult for them to actually listen.
Yeah, it's really disappointing. The US could really be, at the cutting edge of addressing how we deal with this, and instead we are taking a back seat. So yeah, I'm disappointed. I'm frustrated that that we aren't willing to work with other nations to address this global problem.
And the US really isn't doing enough. I think that the silence it's not a good message to send out to everybody. Even though the youth are rising up, there's sort of been a silence among a lot of the politicians, and I think that because we're definitely not doing enough so that we can have a good future. And I think that we really need to step it up if we want to have the future that we're looking for.
Because at least our current president right now doesn't even believe climate change is a problem. And even if some people in government do notice it, they're not really doing anything about it right now. I don't know if that's politics in general, but it may be specific to the issue, and yeah.
Another issue with the reason that people refuse or don't want to accept it is because it's become so heavily politicized. And like, for example, AOC, when I don't mean to call her out because I think that the Green New Deal is a good thing. When she wrote the Green New Deal, she wrote in a lot of things that people may consider socialist. And I think that that's one of the reasons why people are so unwilling to support it. And just in general, for example, when I went to the rally, there were these politicians who came, and I felt like they were all Democrats, and they were sort of using, in my opinion, they were sort of using the climate strike to push their own agendas. I think that that's an issue, because if we ultimately want everybody to work together on this, we need to stop politicizing it, because then people just aren't going to agree with the stuff that comes with it.
It should be addressed. It should be that we should start to make policies, both as a country, I think, and as an international community, to try to cut emissions and identify ways to, clean up and reduce in order to stop the heating of the globe, to stop the change in climate.
Well, I think that global change needs to happen, and I think that there are a few really important things that we have to hit. For example, I think that we need to get back into the Paris Agreement, which the US totally pulled out of. I think that we need to hold a 2-degree limit by 2030. I think that we really need to cut down our carbon emissions as much as possible. But I also think that we need to get a general consensus of what everybody's willing to do. And I think that the way that people are going at it right now, like I said before, super polarizing, I think that we all need to sort of, take a step back and look at it from the other person's point of view. And I think that if we're able to do that, then everybody will be more into it, like, all together.
I think we should first talk about it more, because then at least it spreads awareness. So maybe like educating people in schools and at their workplaces, and then maybe recycling more and like having like cleanups so that we can help clean the oceans and other places where there's landfill.
I think it's starting to get the attention of politicians and leaders. I think it's a positive step, but obviously more needs to be done. We live in a democratic society, so our politicians are tasked with upholding the will of the public, right? And so I think that's one way for politicians to be made aware of how the public feels about this issue. And I think the more we continue to talk about it, the more and protest about it,